Well, here is something very special, something I have been wanting to get for a very, very long time now, and it's something that I think is going to really help improve the quality of future vinyl vault shows. It's a Behringer Composer. It's an old model. It's an MDX-2100 audio processor, and these are mainly utilized for musicians and rack mounted equipment for PA systems to keep the levels in check. But one of their, where it really shines for me at least, is acting as a broadcast hardware-based audio processor. I was using, there goes the lovely printer. I was using a software-based audio processor for a very long time, and it was creating glitches and issues with the audio on my computer. And it turns out that those software-based audio processors utilize a lot of processor power on your machine, so which leads to audio glitches. So, not to mention, I want to have a physical. And there it goes. It's out of paper. Just give me a moment. Okay, now getting back to where I started from, or where I left off. But since I've switched over to this hardware-based audio processor, I have no longer had any audio glitches whatsoever. The audio is nice and clear. There's none of those stupid glitches that I kept getting with Windows 7, where the audio would just cut in and out for probably a quarter of a second, not even, but it was noticeable enough to drive me bonkers. And this Behringer Composer is a nice little processor. Now, where I have it set up is not ideal. Obviously, I'd love to have a rack mount system, but it does a really nice job, and it sits underneath my computer screen, and I can see all the view meters and everything, and I like that. This also has an expander gate feature, which I do utilize because my computer sound card is integrated, and it picks up quite a bit of interference from the hard drive and other electrical workings that are happening inside my PC. And this is audible as almost like a bit of a static sound that comes in and out, and almost the sound of a hard drive operating. It translates through into the audio as electrical interference. And it's not noticeable enough, but in the certain quiet portions, or when I'm not speaking on a microphone, it is noticeable. And so the noise gate and expander, I have it acting as a noise gate right now, not an expander. And two clicks below -45, it's just 2 clicks up from -45, and it does a real good job. And I made sure to put the release time on the slow function. Fast is way too abrupt, and it cuts out the end of when I'm speaking, and slow just fades out the volume. It works really nice there. And then over here is the compressor and limiter section, and I simply have, I'm not quite sure what, I'm wondering if anyone could point this out, what key listen and key ext, I'm wondering if it means key extension, what those buttons do. I'm not all too sure. There's separate jacks in the back of here that are entitled in relation to this. Now, there is also threshold, ratio, release, and output, none of which I need to be concerned about because, quite honestly, I'm not a broadcast audio professional. I'm not quite sure. I'm not well versed in how to set these things up, but what I do know is that this specific unit has a switch for auto operation, which is what I use it for, and believe me, leaving it on auto sounds plenty fine to my ears. It levels out all the volume, and it's also, it's not a set it and forget it. It will compensate for different forms of music, so you can play classical, you can play rock, jazz, any kind of music, and it dynamically adapts to the program source material, which is very nice. You don't have to keep playing with the expander and gate and the ratios for the different types of music. And surprisingly enough, the auto function works really amazing. The attack and release time, like I said, is it's dependent on the program material, which it interprets, I'm guessing, and controls it then automatically. So it works really well for program material, especially for songs like the one that comes to my mind is Just the Two of Us with Grover Washington Jr. And it's got that bass line that comes in with the drum kicks, and that'll beat up a compressor, and the audio will sound terrible as the attack and release times if they're not properly set, but this takes care of it just fine. And we got peak limiter. I have that at 0 right now. unity gain, because anything above that would be clipping, would overmodulate my computer sound card. And ideally, if you get another audio processor to take care of the peaks, then you could set the peaks up to, go whatever you want, plus 10, plus 6, plus 3, and anything above that will be limited, peak limited. And I also have the couple switch enabled, which just couples channel A and channel B for stereo operation, so that all the settings you have on this channel are controlling channel B as well. But this also has the possibility to be used as one processor for two separate sources of audio, and this is convenient if perhaps I want to run a radio station, two radio stations, just hypothetically. They're both mono. One station is processed with these settings on this channel A, and then channel B controls the other setting and has its own independent settings. And you can take a look here. This is the same as what I just looked at on channel A. And then there's the power switch, and this piece of tape just holds on the in button. It gets a bit finicky, it doesn't want to stay in. And even though you have, what I've noticed is, even though if I have the stereo couple enabled, you have to have the in switch, which is just pretty much an enable button. It activates the processing. It has to be enabled on both channels, even if you have stereo couple. Oh, one last thing, this also uses 1/4-inch tip ring and sleeve jacks, as well as XLR in and out. Now, I don't have a mixer that outputs audio to XLR, so I had to use these RCA to 1/4-inch jacks. It converts these RCA jacks to 1/4-inch jacks that look like this. So everything works well there, and then from there I have some 1/4-inch to 1/8-inch adapters. It's all complicated, but if you look it up, it makes perfect sense. And one last thing I negated to mention is that I have this wired into a separate switch here because my mixer does not come with an integrated switch. But if you turn this on and you listen closely, you can hear the relay click in, because this actually, while it's turned off, acts as a simple pass-through for the audio. So if this is turned off, you're still going to allow audio to go through it, it just will not be processed. If you want the audio to be processed, you just turn it on. So it's kind of nice for me because I use my mixer to convert my cassette tapes to digital files, and I don't want them to be processed. I want to just save and rip just the raw audio from the cassette tapes, non-processed. And so, like I said, when this is off, it doesn't process the audio, it just acts as a pass-through, and the audio can still flow. So let me turn this on, take a listen. You can hear that click now. Yeah, you may have just heard that click, and you can see some of the lights turning on now. Let me go ahead, and I'll leave the camera rolling. I'll point it, position it up so you can view the LEDs as I speak into it, and you can take a listen to how good it sounds.
Alright everyone, I'm talking now into just this Behringer composer, and I'm using a Shure SM58 with some minimal EQ, but you can see it's taking care of my input and output levels, and you can also see over here the gain reduction that's taking place. And if I get very loud and I start yelling into the microphone, you can see it starts going into a higher gain reduction stage, and then the input and output level, you can see it's taking care of it, and we're outputting at a solid 0 dB, and we're not going above that, and that's exactly what I want. And looking up here, if I grab this camera without turning it off, you can see the audio levels are nice and processed, and they're not going over 0 dB, they're not clipping, and they're not also, this unit does not institute extreme hard limiting, where it clips the tops and bottoms off. It does use some light hard limiting, but it keeps a lot of the dynamics in the source material. So now I'm sure you don't want to just hear me talk into it. You want to hear me play some music into it, so let me go ahead and cue up a song here. That is a perfect example for this. And I'll just type in a song here. I'll just play a song by Reba McEntire here from a 45 I just digitized. Let's take a listen to it. Now, I'm also speaking over the audio, and I'm slowly fading down the source audio from that song. And you can see it does a great job. This thing is amazing. It really is. It allows me to voice track over songs very easily. And you can also see peak limiting taking place as well when this red light illuminates. You can see they turn off. They both turn off. One down here, I'm not sure if you can see that. And there's one over here. And it's really nice because I can now utilize fully my plus 6 dB of headroom that my mixer allows. So I can voice track over a song and utilize that plus 6 dB of headroom to voice track over the song without competing for the audio and struggling to be able to hear me against the music. And there's no overmodulation because this composer is analog. It can support that headroom, that extra 6 dB of headroom, and then processes it and outputs it to 0 dB, nothing above 0 dB. So that works really well. And I can get really loud into the audio. You can see I'm getting well into 6 dB territory, which in the digital realm, that would really overmodulate and make audio sound terrible. But this processor handles it wonderfully. So let me go ahead and I'll raise up the song and let you listen to a little bit more of it. And then that'll conclude this little demonstration of my new toy, my little audio-related piece of equipment, the Behringer Composer MDX-2100 here on Vintage Vinyl. Alright, this is just going to give you a basic idea of how this unit makes it very easy to voice track over music and songs or audio that's playing beneath your voice. I'll go ahead and I'm just going to utilize this song I just actually ripped into the computer from a 45, and here it is. Alright, here you're tuned in to Classic Hits 101.3 FM, playing those hits of yesterday and today. Here's a viewer request. It's Farron Young, Just What I Had in Mind, on your source for hits, 101.3 FM.
I come home at the end.
That's Farron Young, Just What I Had in Mind, here on Classic Hits 101.3 FM, a listener request that we're glad to play here. A pitiful example of how it allows me to voice track over music, and some songs are really good for that either. Let me go ahead and I'll put up another song here. Let me put this song up. This one's perfect for voice tracking over. Let me try it now. Alright, got a viewer request here. It's Madonna, Take a Bow, the album version here on your source for hits, 101.3 FM.
Alright, so there you have it, folks. Just a simple little video I've been wanting to do for a long time now on the Behringer Composer MDX-2100. Now granted, there are higher end versions of this audio processor, I believe an MDX-2200 and an MDX Pro 2200 or something along the lines of that, but they have a lot more features, and to be quite honest, things I'm not going to utilize. I don't need to, a lot of the stuff they offer there is just stuff I don't even know how to use, and I don't need to be able to use it because I have no need for it. I just need a simple audio processor, and let me tell you, this Behringer Composer is wonderful, does the job perfectly. And I mean, who wouldn't love another piece of audio equipment that shows you view meters, my favorite thing to look at.